Energy is the language of God, the silent energy that speaks creation into being. When you learn to speak this language, your thoughts and emotions begin to shape reality itself. Once you genuinely comprehend it, you will no longer pursue your desires. You create them. Energy is the language of God. Introduction. At the silent boundary between the seen and the unseen, a subtle language is always being spoken. It is not composed of words or sounds, but of energy, an ancient river that runs to the center of your being. Within the teachings on the language of energy, this stream is seen as a peaceful dialogue between your inner world and the immense intelligence that gives life to the universe. Every thought you allow to linger, every emotion you retain within your heart, creates a vibration that travels forth into the invisible fabric of reality. This invisible transaction is constant, long before events manifest in the physical world. They are shaped in the field of energy that surrounds and pervades everything. Your consciousness, like ripples on a still lake, sends patterns into this quantum tapestry, attracting events that reflect the frequency you possess. Recognizing this is awakening to a sacred truth. Manifestation is neither a secret power reserved for a select few, nor a trick that can be learned. It's a universal rule, as natural and unchanging as gravity itself. The cosmos listens to the underlying rhythm of your energetic state rather than your expressed aspirations. Your personal frequency is driven by three powerful currents: your ideas, emotions, and expectations. Together, they form a dynamic trio that shapes the signal you send into the limitless. Most people are unaware that the transmission never ends. Every moment, you are creating, aligning, and participating in an ongoing dialogue with the intellect that governs the universe. The ancient mystics had a good understanding of the secret concept, that energy creates matter, that consciousness shapes the visible universe, and that the unseen realm is a fundamental source of creation. You are not just a witness to this force. You are a live embodiment of it, a vessel in which the universe learns to dream itself into existence. Before we get into the book discussion, I'd like to affirm your intentions to the cosmos. Part 1. The Waking. Chapter 1. The Whisper Below. Thought. In the tranquil hills, beyond the city, there was a woman named Clara Whitaker. Every morning, she would kneel before her window, hands joined in passionate prayer, beseeching the heavens for change. However, underneath her murmured words was a river of doubt, a subtle resignation that cast her goals in shades of impossibility. Her life became a reflection of her internal contradiction, forever hopeful, forever waiting, and forever disappointed. Clara's story has insight that speaks to the very center of creation. Your words may reach the heavens, but it is your passionate conviction that moves mountains. The cosmos responds not to what your lips say, but to the constant signal your heart sends. Thoughts drift like mist in the morning breeze, but feelings strike like lightning, commanding reality to change itself. Consider trader Harold Bennett, whose story is intertwined with this truth. For decades, he labored under the weight of ambition, his hands constantly pushing for success while his heart harbored shadows of resentment. Each time he saw another's achievement, a subtle hatred grew, unknowingly attaching him to the very shortage he longed to avoid. The law remained unaffected by his outward attempts, instead responding to the underlying river of his feelings. Only until Harold's heart turned from comparison to gratitude did riches begin to pour. During that tremendous moment of enlightenment, he found that respect for others' achievement aligned his energies with the prosperity he desired. These narratives reveal a fundamental truth. You cannot attract what you are silently resisting. The universe, with its infinite knowledge, responds to your energetic signature rather than your words. When you find yourself locked in patterns of scarcity despite your best efforts, evaluate the emotional tone behind your goals. Are you resisting while praying for reception? Are you passing judgment while praying for blessings? The technique of emotional alignment dates back to ancient times. Find a peaceful place and relax into silence. Allow your eyes to softly close and your breathing to deepen. Consider the feeling that exists behind your stated objectives, the underlying emotional current that shapes your world. With each breath, allow thankfulness to ease any resistance you encounter. Allow appreciation to become your innate condition, the base from which all aspirations emerge. Feel how this shift in emotional frequency connects you to the limitless wisdom that directs all creation. Remember that your emotions are prayers made visible to the universe. Choose them wisely. Chapter 2. The Mirror of Emotion. There's a power bigger than any earthly force hidden in the silent depth of you. The significance of emotional resonance. This truth is revealed through the story of Mabel Carter, whose days unfolded like chapters from a book of grievances. Each morning brought further evidence of life's unfairness, not because the universe worked against her, but because her inner convictions served as a magnet, attracting situations that matched her emotional frequency. The universe, in its infinite wisdom, follows precise spiritual laws. Your emotional state is more than just a response to life. It is a precise blueprint upon which your reality is constructed. Like a master craftsman shaping clay, divine energy molds situations based on the emotional tone you maintain. This is why two people can confront the same scenario but have very different outcomes. When you comprehend this idea, you may see why life appears to reflect your fundamental beliefs. The world you perceive is not your reality. It's responding to you. Every emotion you feel causes ripples in the fabric of existence, drawing events that match that frequency. During his voyage of loneliness, Theodore Hayes found this fact. For years, he built walls of protection, hoping that people would keep their distance. But in reality, his guarded energy generated the isolation he feared. When he identified this pattern, everything changed. He chose to offer warmth without expecting anything in exchange. He adjusted his emotional broadcast as easily as water flows downhill. Connections started to form. The universe reflects your inner condition with mathematical precision. When you exude trust, trustworthy conditions will discover you. When you spread joy, joyful experiences grow. This isn't a coincidence. It's cosmic law in operation. Your emotional state is a constant plea to the cosmos, which is always answered. An ancient practice. Find a peaceful area where you will not be bothered. Close your eyes and take deep breaths. Feel the emotional atmosphere you've been maintaining. I'm not judging it, simply observing the quality and texture. Imagine soft acceptance flowing over this emotional terrain like golden light. Allow trust to spontaneously grow within you, like the sun rising over the horizon. Allow this feeling of trust to become your companion, your natural condition of being. Bring this altered energy to every situation, engagement, and expectation. Your new emotional baseline serves as a foundation for an ongoing dialogue with the universe. Chapter 3. Frequency Before Form. Evelyn Monroe lived in the valleys between mountain peaks, where ancient knowledge whispered in the wind. Each morning, she would look at the rich homes on the hillside, her heart yearning for abundance while her head whispered unworthiness. She, like many others before her, had yet to recognize the holy truth that abundance flows from the inner spring of self-worth rather than outward circumstances. The universe runs under an unchangeable spiritual law. Frequency comes before shape, just as a radio must be tuned to the correct frequency to receive a broadcast. Your consciousness must be aligned with prosperity for it to appear in physical form. Your feeling of self-worth acts as a tuning dial, channeling the universe's endless wealth. What image do you create when you stand in front of the cosmic mirror of creation? The image you have of yourself shapes the energy field surrounding you. Prosperity can be attracted or repelled like a magnet. Those who see themselves as worthwhile naturally attract chances, whilst those who doubt their worth unconsciously repel prosperity. In the spirit world, Identification is destiny. The divine flow advances not via effort, but rather through alignment. When you affirm, I am worthy, with unwavering assurance, you open channel for success to flow. This is not pride, but a realization of your divine birthright. Consider Walter Green, whose artistic abilities were veiled behind walls of self-doubt. His paintings accumulated dust, and his spirit faded until he found the ancient discipline of inner alignment. Rather than seeking external validation, he began to reinforce his natural value by communicating with his higher self on a daily basis. He would sit in solitude, letting the truth about his worth wash over him like golden light. Walter's inner frequency moved from uncertainty to conviction, and the outside world responded in kind. Gallery owners who had previously turned him down suddenly desired his work. Critics who had previously overlooked him began to celebrate his distinct worldview. The change seemed magical. However, it followed the precise law of spiritual magnetism. When you understand your worth, the universe reflects that, knowing that the riches you desire already exist in the limitless sphere of possibility. They only need your energetic readiness and heartfelt acceptance of worthy. This is not about forcing or struggling, but about letting yourself to accept what you have always deserved. Practice. Find a peaceful place and relax into silence. Close your eyes and take long breaths, letting each one carry away previous worries about your worth. Feel the heavenly presence that is inside you, the same force that powers stars and coordinates galaxies. Allow this knowledge to fill you until you feel your own magnificence without seeking proof or permission. Simply rest in the knowledge that you are valuable because you exist. You are valuable because the cosmos expresses itself through you. Hold on to this emotion. Allow it to spread throughout your body until it becomes a basis on which you can build your life. This is your natural condition, complete, deserving, and richly gifted. Chapter 4. The Law of Resonance. Every thread in the vast fabric of reality vibrates with purpose, creating patterns that reflect our core frequency. Lucy Davenport's voyage reveals an important insight about the universe's receptive nature. Each nervous notion she harbored compounded, creating an echo chamber of events that supported her fears. However, within this pattern lies the key to transformation. The old knowledge speaks of resonance, which is like a tuning fork singing in harmony. Your emotional frequency creates ripples in the fabric of reality. When one tuning fork vibrates, others with the same pitch respond in kind. Your dominating mood persists even in the absence of physical interaction. Call up matching circumstances from the boundless field of possibilities. This is not a coincidence, but rather spiritual law in motion. Your emotional signature broadcasts are always drawing events that fit their frequency. Worry breeds worry. Peace draws peace, and joy captivates us. Positive situations. The universe responds to the energy you constantly sustain, rather than what you say you want. Samuel Brooks demonstrated this principle in his path from constraint to liberty. His fear of failure cast such a heavy shadow that opportunity appeared menacing rather than inviting. Each opportunity for advancement presented a danger or loss, resulting in a self-fulfilling prophecy of stagnation. However, in this darkness lay the seed of his metamorphosis. The transformation began when Samuel chose curiosity over fear, rather than wondering what may go wrong. He began to wonder what he may discover. This tiny but significant shift in attention affected his entire energetic signature, and anxiousness prefers closed doors. Curiosity opened up avenues of opportunity. Progress automatically followed this increase in frequency, similar to how daybreak follows night. Your circumstances are not random happenings, but rather representations of your ongoing vibrational state. When you realize this, you have the key to conscious creativity. The world does not respond to your wishes, but to your wavelength. An ancient practice. Find a peaceful place and relax in the silence. Start noticing the sensations in your body, especially the difference between what seems spacious and what feels contracting. Gently focus your attention on an expanse of emotion, such as warmth in your chest, lightness in your shoulders, or openness in your breath. Breathe into this sensation and allow it to develop naturally. Allow this to become your selected tone and frequency. Trust that as you stay in this frequency, life will begin to reflect its attributes back to you. Hold this exercise for a few minutes, then repeat it throughout the day, understanding that each instant of alignment molds a field of possibilities around you. The universe is awaiting your signal. What frequency will you use to broadcast? Chapter 5, Belief as a Blueprint. In a quiet community, Nora Simmons traveled through life on guard, her heart constantly lifted in preparation for impending wounds. Her relationships broke down repeatedly, each time appearing to validate her greatest worries. However, what appeared to be a series of betrayals disguised a deeper truth that has echoed throughout history. The universe runs on resonance, not randomness. Your beliefs create an energetic blueprint that guides every contact, connection, and outcome. Like a master architect designing a home, your innermost convictions form the cornerstone of your encounters. These beliefs transmit a frequency that matches conditions with mathematical accuracy. When you anticipate betrayal, you subconsciously choreograph its coming. Your caution establishes distance. Your suspicion generates defensiveness. Your dread manifests as withdrawal. These subtle energetic cues encourage others to share your distrust, resulting in a self-fulfilling prophecy that appears to justify your initial opinion. Franklin Doyle was intimately familiar with this trend. For years, he wore cynicism as armor, seeing trust as a flaw to be avoided. Each interaction was a delicate power struggle. Each relationship is a delicate ballet of power. The exhaustion of constant attention prompted him to reconsider this method. In a moment of surrender, Franklin launched a daring experiment. He opted to extend little acts of faith, initially in trivial areas, then in more serious ways. To his surprise, the world reacted differently. Colleagues became allies. Strangers demonstrated kindness. Relationships deepened. The same universal law that had earlier validated his concerns now mirrored his growing receptivity. This shift uncovers a fundamental reality. Belief impact perception, which generates experience. The energy you radiate creates the reality you live in. When you modify your fundamental assumptions, you change the entire fabric of your relational reality. According to ancient wisdom, the outside environment reflects one's inner state. Change starts with the stories you tell yourself about trust, safety, and connection. As you shed limiting beliefs, you make room for new possibilities to arise. The practice: find a peaceful moment and relax into silence. Bring to mind one limiting idea that has influenced your relationships. Perhaps the people are always disappointing. Alternatively, I must protect myself in order to remain safe. Imagine a softer alternative. Trust fosters deeper connections, or I am comfortable opening my heart. Allow this new possibility to sink into your being. Don't force belief. Simply let this gentler form of reality to permeate your consciousness until it feels normal, like a seed sprouting in rich soil. Chapter 6. The Power of Attention. Every morning, Hazel Perkins wandered around her garden in the tranquil village surrounded by rolling hills, only to find empty spots where flowers had not yet grown. Her eyes saw empty areas of dirt rather than the colorful flowers that thrived, and she counted missing seeds rather than plentiful harvests. Despite being surrounded by beauty, her attention was drawn to absence, bringing more experiences of lack into her environment. The universe talks in the language of energy and attention, and it directs this heavenly river. Water flows via cut channels. Life force travels toward whatever catches your attention. This is not mere optimism. It is spiritual rule that works with mathematical precision. What you constantly observe expands in magnitude, not because reality changes, but because your perception aligns with precise frequencies of experience. Gratitude serves as an alchemical force, changing the way energy flows in your life. When you turn from noticing what's missing to appreciating what's there, you redirect the flow of universal force. This tiny yet significant shift permits abundance to emerge where scarcity formerly seemed to reign. Arthur Collins exemplified this principle on his path from limitation to abundance. Every morning, he would scan the papers, underlining issues and potential calamities. His imagination became a magnet for negative scenarios. His world seemed full of challenges, until a good teacher enlightened him to a simple truth. Attention is the currency of creation. Arthur gradually shifted his focus away from areas where he had previously perceived business obstacles. When market volatility arose, he began to identify prospects for expansion. Instead of predicting disaster, he looked for hidden advantages. His experience moved along with his concentration. Opportunities appeared as if by magic, although there was no magic involved. Only the strict application of universal law. Your relationship with reality is similar to the link between soil and seed. What you sow with focus grows in your experience. Concentrate on problems and problems. Increased awareness of solutions and pathways appear. Practice. Get into a comfortable position and gradually close your eyes. Bring your attention to something in your life that is doing nicely. Perhaps it's the rhythm of your breathing, the feel of sunlight on your skin, or the steady beat of your heart. Allow your focus to settle there. With each breath, the feeling of appreciation grows stronger. Consider how this simple act of focused thankfulness illuminates other blessings. In your experience, continue this exercise for many minutes. Allow your attention convert everyday occurrences into revelations of abundance. The subtle alteration in your energy will spread outward, inviting more experiences that correspond to your appreciative consciousness. Chapter 7. Emotional Alchemy. Violet Turner maintained a permanent grin in the depths of an ancient valley, believing that spiritual truth necessitated perpetual happiness. Every morning, she plastered cheerfulness on her face while her heart was filled with untreated wounds. However, the cosmos communicates not via masks, but through the sheer reality of being. The message highlights an often misunderstood truth. Heavenly energy reacts to honest presence rather than fake positivity. Denying what moves within you causes interference in your spiritual frequency, similar to a radio signal corrupted by static and suppressed emotions. Cloud the clarity of your creative drive. Speaking the language of universal law necessitates neither perpetual joy nor the rejection of shadows. It instead begs for fortitude to accept what is true in this moment, recognizing that each emotion has its own intellect and purpose. Your emotions are not a barrier to manifestation. They are the very conduits via which greater insight flows. Chester Lawson found this reality after losing his beloved. At first, he tried to ignore his loss, believing that spiritual practice meant rising above human suffering. However, his forced smile became a prison, and his manifestations weakened and hollowed. Genuine healing began in the silent acceptance of his sorrow, but only after he allowed himself to fully feel the depth of his loss. Chester discovered something unexpected, a great serenity that came not from denial, but from surrender to what was genuine. As he stopped battling his anguish, its grasp relaxed naturally. His energy was no longer divided between pretense and truth, but rather became clear and forceful again. The insight here exposes an important idea. Emotional sincerity precedes energetic clarity. When you honor what flows through you without expecting it to be different, you make room for spontaneous transformation. This is not weakness, but knowledge. It is not failure, but the foundation of true spiritual power. Sacred practice involves finding a peaceful area and settling into a comfortable position. Allow whatever emotions are present to emerge without resistance. Consider its characteristics, texture, temperature, and movement in your body. Instead than attempting to change your feelings, breathe gently into any tightness or heaviness you are experiencing. Simply hold it in compassionate presence. Observe how acceptance gradually shifts the energy, not through force, but with the healing power of seeing truth. Let this practice serve as a reminder that real feeling leads to authentic creation. Chapter 8. Imagination as Creation. Iris Caldwell would spend hours in the calm hills beyond the settlement, picturing her own failure. Every morning, she vividly imagined rejection, despair, and loss. These visions were so vivid that her hands trembled and her heart raced, as if she were experiencing the sight she dreaded. Iris failed to realize that she wasn't just thinking about creating. The universe does not categorize our imaginations as good or terrible, real or unreal. It merely responds to the energy we make with our mental images. Each focused thought is treated as a seed in the fertile soil of possibility. Your imagination is the architect's table, where reality is first sketched. When you continually visualize an outcome, you're not predicting the future. You are programming the energy field from which your experiences arise. The images you hold in your mind serve as the blueprint for divine intelligence to follow with perfect precision. Leonard Foster discovered the truth during his darkest hour. Following years of business setbacks, he implemented a simple practice. Every morning, before the sun rose, he would sit in silence and allow himself to visualize success. He imagined himself leading meetings with confidence, making wise decisions, and adding value to others. Most importantly, he infused these visions with a sense of accomplishment that had already been achieved. Within months, subtle shifts began to occur. Opportunities arose that matched his visions. People reacted to him differently. Sensing the confidence he had built up in his private mental rehearsals, his external reality gradually aligned with his internal vision, not through force or struggle, but through the natural law of energetic resonance. The power of visualization is rooted in emotional embodiment rather than escapist fantasy. When you imagine your desired outcome, you must feel it so strongly that your entire being accepts it as reality. This isn't self-deception. Conscious participation in the creative process underpins all manifestation practice. Settle into a quiet place and let your breath become gentle and steady. Close your eyes and envision your desire fulfilled, not as distant fantasy, but as a current experience. See the details. Hear the sounds. Experience the textures of your vision. Allow joy to permeate this image until it feels familiar and attainable. Hold this vision until your body responds with feelings of accomplishment. This is not just daydreaming. It speaks the language of creation itself. Chapter 9, Trusting the Invisible. An ancient scroll, carefully preserved over generations, contains wisdom that speaks of patience and divine timing. Pearl Ramsey's story exemplifies the struggle many people face on the path to manifestation. Every morning, she would plant a seed, only to dig it up hours later to see if it had sprouted. Her need for instant validation stifled the natural progression of her desires. The universe follows precise spiritual laws that are as constant as the cycles of dawn and dusk. Just as a farmer must believe in the invisible process of growth beneath the soil, you must cultivate faith in the unseen mechanics of manifestation. Your trust generates a stable field of energy within which your desires can manifest. When you insist on immediate proof, you create discord in the frequency of creation. Imagine throwing pebbles into still water. Each doubt spreads outward, obscuring the clear reflection of your intention. The law remains constant. Trust precedes evidence, never in reverse. Edwin Porter's journey reveals this truth. As a merchant, I used to meticulously track each transaction. He realized his desire for control actually slowed the flow of abundance. The turning point came when he let go of his control over the outcome, choosing instead to rely on divine timing and order. As Edwin relaxed into this trust, remarkable coincidences began to occur in his life. A chance meeting resulted in an unexpected partnership. A wrong turn revealed an ideal opportunity. What appeared to be random events were actually synchronized responses to his aligned energy. This pattern reveals a profound truth. The universe functions with infinite intelligence, orchestrating events far beyond your limited perspective. When you surrender your timeline and trust the process, you allow greater wisdom to create optimal conditions for your benefit. Your role is not to force manifestation, but rather to keep energetic coherence through unwavering faith. Let go of the desire to see each step of the journey. The oak tree does not question its own growth. It simply extends its roots deeper while reaching for the light. Practice. Find a quiet area and settle into a comfortable position. Close your eyes and take deep breaths. Feel the presence of universal intelligence all around you, supporting you with each breath. Eliminate the need to control outcomes or demand immediate proof. Allow trust to permeate your being until patience becomes your default state. Rest assured that unseen forces are already working with your aligned intention. Maintain this peaceful surrender for a few minutes, allowing it to become your new way of being. Chapter 10. Becoming the Signal. Ruby Gallagher once wandered from temple to temple, seeking blessings and approval from every sage she met. The wise words were spoken, and temporary comfort was obtained. Her search for validation was never-ending, because beneath every quest for external confirmation lay an unexamined truth. What we seek outside of ourselves must first be claimed within. The universal law speaks clearly on this issue. You must become the exact frequency you want to attract. As attracts across the infinite field of energy, the outside world arranges itself like a mirror, reflecting back the signal you consistently broadcast. When you're certain of your worth, the universe responds to your energetic declaration. Those who understand this principle recognize that manifestation is derived from embodiment. You cannot attract abundance while vibrating at a frequency of scarcity. You cannot attract love while projecting unworthiness. The spiritual physics is precise. Your dominant energy forms your magnetic signature. Consider Clarence Mitchell, who craved respect in his professional life. In meetings, he spoke softly, doubt his contributions, and retreat from opposition. Nonetheless, he excelled at his work. His energy conveyed uncertainty. However, everything changed when he started a private practice of self-respect. Clarence would sit in silence every morning before dawn, allowing himself to feel worthy even without external validation. He stopped seeking approval and began to approve of himself. He learned to value his own voice before others heard it. His energy gradually shifted from questioning to knowing. Within months, colleagues began looking to him for guidance. His ideas were taken seriously, whereas they had previously been dismissed, and nothing in his external circumstances had changed. However, his energy now demanded respect because he had first commanded it from within. This is the hidden wisdom. You do not have to wait for evidence to manifest your desired state. When you resonate at the frequency of abundance, you get the ability to become the energy you want to attract. When you send out the love signal, abundance recognizes you as its match. Love responds to its own reflection. Practice. Stand within as the person who already embodies your wish, and carry that stance softly throughout your day, allowing your energy to say what words cannot. Chapter 11. Clearing Resistance. Daisy Thornton lived in a historic village of merchants and mystics, with a heart yearning for expansion, but steps locked in habitual patterns. Each morning, she would look at the distant mountains, feeling their call to adventure, but then return to the comfort of her well-worn routines. Her energy spoke two languages at once, one of opportunity and one of protection, generating a frequency that held her in between what was and what could be. The wisdom of generations informs us that energy cannot flow through contradiction. When your heart says yes, but your head says no, you create a spiritual deadlock. This internal conflict manifests as exterior stagnation because the universe listens to your dominant frequency rather than your wishes. Growth involves acceptance rather than the absence of fear. Even while your spirit longs to soar, your reluctance to change functions as an energetic brake, keeping you grounded. The road forward is to release the grasp of contradiction rather than to enforce movement. Milton Crawford came to understand this fact via his own experiences. A carpenter who aspired to travel to exotic locations. He spent years erecting walls of security around himself. But something changed when he began to accept uncertainty as a normal element of growth. Instead of battling his fear, he faced it. Instead of expecting clarity, he embraced mystery. Milton gradually observed that his environment was expanding. Opportunities to travel arose unexpectedly. Connections were built with travelers who exchanged stories from faraway locations. His craft evolved as he assimilated elements from cultures he had previously feared encountering. The uncertainty he had fought became the key to his freedom. This narrative reflects an eternal reality. Acceptance dissolves resistance. When you stop resisting, your energy moves freely again. Your progress awaits you, not in the absence of fear, but in your ability to hold both desire and apprehension in calm awareness. When your energy is in sync, the cosmos responds to that. When your worries are addressed and your wishes accepted, movement becomes natural. Integration, rather than force, drives change. Practice. Settle into a calm location and let go of any stress surrounding your desire. Feel your body's resistance with each breath. Allow the tension to subside, enabling harmony between your need and your trust. Allow your heart to expand to accommodate both your dreams and your doubts, understanding that acceptance gives space for transformation. Continue breathing until you notice a subtle shift, a gradual alignment of what you want and what you're willing to allow. Part 2 is about alignment. Chapter 12 discusses the rhythm of receiving. At the essence of energy is a constant dance of giving and receiving. In the highlands outside the ancient city of Earth, Lillian Harper, a healer, dedicated her life to aiding others. Her hands provided comfort. Her words conveyed wisdom. However, when others attempted to reciprocate, she withdrew like a flower, closes at dusk. Though wealth ran through her, it could not be contained within her. The universal law speaks clearly on this subject. Energy must circulate freely, like air in and out, like tides rising and falling. When you fight receiving, you block the natural flow of life force. This resistance frequently manifests itself as virtue, humility, selflessness, and unworthiness. However, true humility recognizes that receiving is as precious as giving. For both, finish the circle of divine transaction in the marketplace of life. Grant Sullivan, a generous merchant, followed a similar route. He will provide each consumer with discounts and freebies. However, he struggled to boost his pricing or accept assistance. When his own storehouse was depleted, his breakthrough came not from striving but from surrender. When a winter storm destroyed his roof, neighbors came together to help with repairs. Instead of rejecting their charity, he let himself be encouraged. That acceptance changed not only his roof, but also his relationship with plenty. Grant realized a fundamental truth. Receiving is defined as letting rather than taking. It is an expression of faith in the universe's limitless supply. When you expose yourself to receiving, you recognize your place in the grand circle of giving. You value those who want to contribute to your life. You complete the current that others started. This teaching goes beyond material exchange. It influences all aspects of life, from praise as opportunity, love to achievement. Your ability to receive decides how thoroughly life expresses itself through you. Every time you reject a gift, discount praise, or downplay your worth, you narrow the channel via which abundance flows. Practice. Find a peaceful moment and relax into silence. Consider yourself a channel of light. Open from the top. Visualize blessings falling like golden rain. Feel yourself taking them gracefully and gratefully. Observe any resistance, the desire to deflect or lessen, rather than just allowing it to vanish. Breathe in the reality that you are deserving of receiving. Allow this sense of deserve and openness to become your natural condition. Chapter 13, Words that Carry Power. In the quiet of dawn, Opal Jennings whispered familiar sentences that had become her daily ritual. I'll never get ahead. Nothing works out for me. I'm not talented enough. With each syllable, her shoulders dropped more, her vitality dwindling like a candle in the wind. She failed to comprehend that these casual words were shaping the fundamental fabric of her reality. The ancient wisdom informs us that words carry vibrational signatures that reverberate through the quantum field of creation. When you speak, you are not only expressing thoughts, you are issuing directives to the universe. Each pronouncement, whether murmured in doubt or proclaimed in faith, becomes a seed planted in the fertile soil of unlimited possibilities. Your words are more than just expressions of thought. They are instruments of creation, each syllable carrying the ability to alter your fate. The cosmos responds not merely to the exact meaning of your words, but to the emotional power underlying them. When you express limitation, you create boundaries. When you talk about possibilities, you open channel for divine flow. Howard Blake learned this fact during his darkest hour, his business faltering and his confidence shaken. He caught himself repeating, "I've completed." One day, the weight of these words hit him with a stunning clarity. He began a practice of attentive speech, carefully selecting utterances that reflected his deepest desires rather than his current circumstances. Every morning, Howard stood in front of his reflection, saying words of capacity and worth. I'm resourceful. Solutions come naturally to me. Success flows naturally from my efforts. Initially, their statement seemed hollow, but he persisted. His voice grew stronger, his stance straightened, and his eyes shone with newfound determination. Within months, chances began to arise, initially tiny, but eventually increasingly major. His co-workers noticed a change in his demeanor as a result of his newly acquired authority. Howard had learned to align his speech with his goals, and the world responded in kind. The language you speak shapes your energy field. Every word you say is a note in the symphony of your life's construction. When you declare your vulnerability, you dull your brightness. When you proclaim your strength, you increase your power. The cosmos accurately mirrors the frequency of your assertions. Sacred practice. Find a peaceful moment during sunrise or sunset. Allow your next comment about yourself to develop spontaneously before speaking. Pause. Infuse your words with soft strength and compassionate honesty. Feel the subtle feelings in your body when you utter words that honor your divine potential. Feel the resonance of supportive remark pass through you, knowing that the universe hears and responds to every word you say. Chapter 14, Gratitude as a Gateway. Esther Collins spent her days calculating what was missing in the gentle hills that surround a tiny settlement, instead of appreciating what was present. Each morning, she would wake up to reflect on her lack, the promotion she had not yet received, and the house she had yet to acquire. The bond remained mysterious. She would remind herself, when my desires manifest, I will give thanks. The universe communicates in the language of energy, and thankfulness is the purest tone. This principle, passed down to the ages of knowledge, demonstrates that abundance does not imply appreciation. It precedes it. When you comprehend this idea, you will realize that waiting for conditions to change before giving thanks is like to waiting for a garden to bloom before planting seeds. Your grateful heart is the rich soil in which prosperity grows. Every thank you whispered in advance of manifestation has the potential to multiply what already exists. This multiplication begins in the subtle domain of energy and manifests itself in the material world. Raymond Price found the truth during his worst hour. His business was on the verge of disaster. His savings diminished, and uncertainty hung over his future. However, in this moment of adversity, he remembered the ancient truth. Admiration invites admiration. Instead of focusing on scarcity, he began each day by appreciating the minor blessings. The sunrise, a warm cup of tea, the will to start afresh. At first, this exercise seemed hollow, even silly. But as the days progressed, Raymond detected minor changes. An accidental contact resulted in an unexpected collaboration. A forgotten client returned with a transformative opportunity. What looked to be a coincidence was actually the normal reaction of universal energy to his changing vibration. The interpretation of Raymond's experience reveals a timeless reality. Gratitude is more than just a response to good fortune. The magnetic force is what pulls it outward. When you match your energy with appreciation, you tune into the frequency of abundance. This alignment accelerates the manifestation of your wishes by putting you in sync with the natural flow of universal energy. The practice. Find a quiet moment and say thank you for something so modest that it typically goes undetected. The warm sensation of sunlight on your skin, the rhythm of your breathing, the stability of the ground under your feet. Allow this thankfulness to be real rather than mechanical. Feel how the genuineness of your admiration stirs something deeper within you. Continue with this practice. Consider how joy naturally rises, like a flower turning toward the sun. This single act of realization initiates forces beyond your current comprehension, causing waves of abundance in the vast ocean of possibility. Before we move on to the next chapter, you may obtain a free ebook edition of this audiobook by clicking the link in the pinned comment below. Watch this video. Chapter 15, The Courage to Desire. In a little home amidst flowering gardens, Flora Bennett had a life of peaceful restraint. Every morning, she would look at her journal, which was filled with meticulously crossed-out fantasies, believing that modest expectations would safeguard her heart. However, with each fantasy she refused, her soul faded, like a candle slowly going out. The timeless wisdom speaks clearly on this subject. Desire is a precious message from the infinite. When a dream takes root in your heart, it serves as an invitation from the divine to reveal its limitless essence through you. The cosmos knows no bounds, and the dreams that arise within you are whispers of possibilities. You may have learned to control your aspirations, believing that smaller dreams result in fewer disappointments. However, by doing so, you are impeding the flow of life force that is intended to propel you to your full potential. Desire is not an adversary to peace. It is the compass that guides you to your destination. When energy stagnates due to suppressed longing, it leaves an empty void where vitality once flowed. Your dreams are not mere wishes, but heavenly appointments with potential. Each one carries a seed for your greater development. To honor them means to honor the sacred within you. Douglas Hayes realized this fact only after years of ignoring his true purpose as a great musician who had settled for a conventional job. He felt his spirit dwindling. One day he sat at his old piano. He gave himself permission to want completely again, to dream of sharing his music without restriction or apology. Something changed as Douglas began to openly declare his ambition through prayer and meditation. The air surrounding him seems to vibrate with new vigor. Opportunities presented themselves organically, as if in response to his redirected energy. His music, no longer reserved for private moments, became a means for grace to enter the world. The message is clear. Your wants are not independent from your spiritual path, but are essential to it. They are the language with which the infinite communicates its plans for your life. When you deny them, you are denying not just yourself, but also the bigger design that is attempting to be expressed through you. Sacred practice. Find a peaceful area where you won't be bothered. Close your eyes and put your hand on your heart. Allow yourself to want freely and totally, without restriction or shame. Feel the exhilaration increase naturally as you allow yourself to dream without boundaries. Allow your desires to emerge in their purest form, recognizing that the longing itself is sacred. Guidance. Breathe into any resistance that may arise. Recognize that your dreams are divine, appointments with destiny. Hold the state of pure desire for a few minutes, enabling your energy to align with the immensity of possibilities. Chapter 16. Rewrite the core script. Myrtle Lawson formerly lived in a little village surrounded by ancient hills, and she got up every morning to revisit the events that tormented her like a tapestry woven with remorse. She followed the patterns of previous mistakes until they were the very fabric of her present. These recollections cast lengthy shadows over her potential from sunrise to dusk, each one reinforcing the walls of constraint that surrounded her spirit. The global rule whispers a truth as ancient as time itself. Your memories are not solid stones in an unchanging past, but rather living energy that flows through your present moment. Each time you revisit a memory, you give it fresh life and allow it to influence the shapes of your future. The strength is not in what happened, but in the energy with which you infuse these memories. When you keep a recollection in your mind, you are not simply observing. You're creating. The emotion you attach to past experiences sends a signal into the endless field of possibility. This signal draws experiences that correspond to its frequency, resulting in a loop that either imprisons or liberates in a faraway metropolis. Vernon Drake realized this profound truth during a calm moment of insight. For years, he bore the burden of perceived failures like a heavy chain. However, one morning, when sunshine shone through his window, he opted to see these same memories through the lens of wisdom rather than judgment. Instead of seeing defeat, he saw opportunities to learn from the agony. With each careful modification, he gained new insight. He felt the energy in those moments shift. As Vernon continued to drill, something remarkable happened. The altered vibration of his past began to affect the texture of his current confidence, which had long lain dormant, stirring to life. Opportunities that appeared closed began to open. He hadn't modified the events themselves, but rather their emotional resonance. He freed the energy, once caught in regret. This wisdom reveals a profound truth. The past is not set history, but rather a living energy within you. When you alter the meaning of past events, you loosen their grip on your creative drive. Instead than being a barrier to growth, each changed memory serves as a basis for new possibilities. Your memories do not have to be anchors that keep you grounded, but rather wings that propel you forward. The ability to modify their influence is dependent on your willingness to see them with new eyes and an open heart. Memory exercise dates back to ancient times. Transmutation. Find a peaceful moment and relax into a state of soft awareness. Bring to mind a memory that has constrained your perception of possibilities. As you keep this recollection, breathe deeply and let compassion flow through you like warm sunlight. Examine the situation with a different perspective, recognizing the insight acquired. Feel how this adjustment and viewpoint relieves stress in both your body and mind. Allow peace to replace regret as you acknowledge that every event has helped you grow. This simple yet powerful exercise, passed down through generations of spiritual teaching, changes the energy of memory from a burden to blessing. Chapter 17. Living at the End. In a distant mountain village, a woman lived and spent her days creating magnificent tapestries. Nonetheless, she declined to display them in her home, preferring to keep them for later. When she believed she had earned their display year after year, she kept her masterpieces secret. Their beauty remained undetected while she lived in a modest environment, hoping to feel worthy of the very beauty she made. The strength of your creative force is not in what you will feel tomorrow, but in the emotional vibration you maintain today. Many people postpone their excitement because they believe that celebrating comes after achievement. However, this reverses the basic law of manifestation. Cora Whitman, for example, refused to be satisfied unless you met specified goals. You may have learned to suppress your joy, conserving it for a later time of success. However, the world responds to your current emotional signals rather than your future aspirations. When you postpone joy, you create a periodicity of waiting and incompleteness. This vibration ensures that satisfaction remains on the horizon indefinitely. One step forward. The key is in reversing this pattern, daring to feel what you think you'll feel. Then, this fact became clear to Stanley Moore, who had long battled to succeed in his career. Each morning, he would arrive at his small office, his vitality weighed down by the weight of where he hadn't yet gotten. Then one day, wisdom appeared. He began going about his day as if success had already welcomed him. He held himself differently, spoke with quiet authority, and made decisions out of abundance rather than scarcity. He didn't pretend or deceive. He simply allowed himself to experience the emotional core of achievement in the present. Within weeks, possibilities began to coincide with his new energy. His co-workers reacted differently to his presence. Projects that had stopped gained impetus. The outside world reshaped itself to reflect his inner assurance. The universe makes no distinction between emotion caused by current circumstances and emotion caused by deliberate choice. When you feel fortunate, you radiate prosperity. When you feel deserving, you broadcast it. When you feel successful, you broadcast it. The external must, by spiritual law, be consistent with your persistent inside state. This ancient philosophy wakes you to your creative ability in the present moment. You do not need to wait for circumstances to change before allowing yourself to experience what you want. Indeed, your current feelings shape future conditions. Sacred practice. Find a peaceful place and relax in the silence. Feel the happiness of completeness in this moment, and use that emotion to guide your posture and decisions today. Allow yourself to feel the emotional tone of your fulfilled goal as if it were already real. Allow this feeling to permeate your gestures, words, and interactions. This is not a pretense. It is energetic alignment with what wants to express itself through you. Chapter 18. The Field of Possibility. Long ago, in a village nestled among old hills, lived a woman who made pottery from clay. She gathered around the river's bank. Every morning, she walked the same route to get her materials, created the same vessels, and sold them for the same low price. Her work kept her going, but a silent despair developed in her heart. She whispered to herself, "This is it." Hands working with the familiar clay. Instead of turning back when she discovered her normal path obstructed by fallen trees one morning as mist hung over the village, she continued on. She went down a trail. There she discovered clay in colors she had never seen. Rich purples, deep blues, and gold sparkle. Her narrow universe enlarged in that moment of discovery, showing richness where she had previously perceived only scarcity. You contain a comparable truth. When Ina Fletcher went about her days, she only saw locked doors and dead ends. Her universe felt narrow, constrained by what she thought was possible. Like a bird in an unseen cage, she restricted her flight to the confines she had accepted as real. The universe speaks the language of expansion. It recognizes no bounds or limitations, save those we set onto it with our consciousness. What appears to be fixed is actually energy waiting for a new path. What appears insurmountable is simply undiscovered potential. Calvin Rhodes realized this when he started challenging his beliefs about what was possible. Where others saw walls, he saw windows that were acceptable. No, he asked, why not? His perception had shifted, not his circumstances. As his vision grew, reality followed suit. Opportunities that had previously been invisible began to surface with surprising synchronization. He never noticed a door standing open, inviting exploration. This is a law at work. The sphere of unlimited possibility responds not to what exists, but to what you allow yourself to perceive. When you let go of the grip of restricted thinking, your energy either constricts or expands a field. You connect with the limitless nature of divine wisdom. Your life's bounds are determined by internal frequency rather than external circumstances. Change your signal, and you will change what manifests. Extend your view, and you will expand your experience. The cosmos provides opportunities in proportion to your amount of openness. To practice, find a peaceful moment and relax into silence. Take deep breaths and feel the space surrounding you. Now consider a circumstance in which you feel limited or restrained. Instead of focusing on the obstacles, let your awareness grow beyond them. What possibilities have you not considered? What avenues remain unexplored? Allow your mind to flow freely, unconstrained by what appears practical or possible. In this enlarged condition, feel the energy of boundless potential all around you. Observe what new solutions or chances emerge organically in your consciousness. Carry the sensation of spaciousness with you as you go about your day, staying open to unexpected paths and unanticipated possibilities. Chapter 19 prompted action. Long ago, in a distant land, there lived a woman who spent her days staring at the stars, hoping for them to align and change her fate. She prayed endlessly, lit sacred candles, and followed rituals. However, her life remained unchanged. Her name has faded with the passage of time, but her message endures. Inspirational movement propels creation forward. The cosmos communicates not only through signs and omens, but also through a quiet stir within that draws you toward your desires. When you tune into the whispers of divine guidance, action becomes a natural extension of energy rather than a forced effort against opposition. Della Morrison represented this fact in reverse. Day after day, she sat in her garden, hands clasped in her lap, praying to the skies for change but rejecting her heart's gentle promptings. She believed that when the moment was right, the cosmos will make it happen. Nonetheless, the cosmos was already speaking through her deepest instincts. The spontaneous desire to learn a new talent, or curiosity about a different path, unexpected inspiration to contact someone. These were the links between energy and form. However, Della discounted them as transitory fantasies. The law functions with precise alignment and enhances attraction. When you elevate your vibration by believing and feeling, you are naturally drawn to do actions that reflect your inner condition. These actions have a different quality. They seem light, happy, and almost effortless, as if you're being carried by an invisible river. Ernest Dalton realized this reality while alive. Rather than forcing himself to adhere to rigid plans or passively await rescue, he began to focus on his internal guidance system. When an idea sparked his interest, he followed it. When an opportunity piqued his interest, he pursued it. No step was too tiny. If it felt right, Ernest gradually saw a trend emerge. Every inspired move, no matter how small, paved the way for the following step. A fortuitous discussion unlocked an unexpected door. The little decision prompted a synchronistic meeting. He wasn't resisting life, but dancing with it, allowing divine intelligence to choreograph the steps while remaining responsibly aware. The cosmos does not demand your strain and struggle. Rather, it encourages your participation in a more subtle way, via the silent yes that rises in your heart, via the spark of passion that lights the way forward, and through the calm understanding that comes with aligned action. An ancient practice. Sit quietly and think about your desire. Notice any tiny impulses or inspirations that come, such as a modest action that feels inviting or a gentle nudge in a specific direction, without analyzing or second-guessing. Allow yourself to respond to this suggestion with easy, comfortable action. Trust that each synchronized step sends waves through the field of endless potential. Chapter 20, The Discipline of Alignment. In a little mountain community, a woman crafted exquisite tapestries that caught the dawn sun. Every day, She sat at her loom, weaving gold and silver threads into designs that shimmer with life. Some days, her hands moved confidently, creating beauty beyond measure. Some days, doubt crept in, and her work became twisted and confusing. The tapestry she completed during times of confidence brought admirers from far away, whilst those created during times of uncertainty stayed hidden in the shadows. The universe, like the weaver at her loom, runs according to unchanging spiritual laws. To clearly materialize your wishes, your energy must be in a steady vibration. When you oscillate between trust and doubt, you generate a disjointed frequency that produces mixed effects. The power is not found in brief bursts of alignment, but in sustained resonance with what you seek. Hattie Green's tale reflects this truth. She would spend weeks vividly envisioning her dreams, only to stop her practice when the results did not arrive right away. Her manifestations were only incomplete glimpses of possibilities. They never fully manifested. The universe reacted to her erratic signal with erratic outcomes. The law of attraction, like gardening, takes consistent focus. You cannot anticipate vigorous growth if you put seeds and then neglect them for weeks. It is a regular watering and consistent attention that results in a plentiful harvest. Your thoughts and feelings are spiritual seeds that must be cultivated with care and constant focus. Clifford Shaw learned this notion on his own journey. Rather than letting circumstances determine his inner state, he resolved to keep positive expectations regardless of external data. Each morning, he visualized the intended conclusion. He counted his blessings every evening, rain or shine, success or setback. He kept his vibration steady. Clifford noted modest changes over the course of several weeks. Opportunities arose more frequently. Helpful connections appeared unexpectedly. What began as a coincidence became into a routine and eventually a lifestyle. His constant signal had created a clear path for manifestation. Consider how water flows via pipe. Intermittent pressure produces intermittent flow, whereas steady pressure maintains continuous stream. Your energy functions similarly. Fluctuation between faith and doubt causes energetic turbulence, whereas consistent confidence ensures a clear flow of divine wisdom. Every morning, ancient practice settled into a calm area. Place your hand on your heart and whisper, "I choose trust," throughout the day. When doubts arise, refer to the simple reminder. Allow steadiness to become your companion. Consistency is your strength through patient practice. Observe how your consistent signal draws matching situations with growing accuracy. Remember that manifestation follows the law of rhythm. Establish your energetic tone and uphold it with loving persistence through consistent alignment. You become a clear route for universal abundance. Chapter 21. The Collapse of Doubt. In the peaceful alleys of a small seaside town, a skilled artisan named Edna Wallace created magnificent jewelry that piqued the interest of a famous gallery owner. However, when given the opportunity to present her work, she found reasons to wait, unwittingly protecting herself from the very success she claimed to crave. The universal law operates with unflinching accuracy. What you really feel behind your conscious desires impacts what happens in your life. When success approaches, buried fears often emerge, resulting in an energetic paradox that must be overcome before manifestation can be completed. Your outer world accurately reflects your inner state. If you find yourself consistently approaching success only to backtrack at critical moments, wisdom asks you to investigate the shadows within. What appears to be an outward impediment frequently reflects inner reluctance that seeks recognition. Victor Harmon, a great speaker, has long avoided the spotlight. His gifts drew people in naturally. When opportunity knocked, he found reasonable excuses to stay in the background. However, underneath these acceptable explanations is a deeper truth, the worry that actual achievement would expose him to judgment, criticism, and the burden of others' expectations. Victor's turning point came when he stopped resisting his fear and accepted it as a teacher. During quiet periods of honest reflection, He allowed himself to experience the full extent of his concern about being seen, holding room for these emotions without judgment. Something shifted. Fear was overcome by acceptance rather than force. With each modest step towards increased visibility, Victor learned that confronting his concerns reduced their strength as his internal resistance crumbled. Outer opportunities increased. Speaking gigs occurred with surprising ease. His message reached a wider audience. The exact exposure he had dreaded became a source of joy. The law of attraction works by responding to your innermost emotional currents rather than surface desires. When fear of success operates unconsciously, it serves as a concealed impediment to manifestation. However, once acknowledged, even the most intense resistance begins to transform the practice. Find a peaceful moment and focus your attention inward. Allow yourself to visualize achieving your desired accomplishment in full measure. Observe any subtle tension or resistance that occurs without attempting to change anything. Simply observe these feelings with a loving attentiveness. Breathe deeply and tell yourself, I acknowledge any fear of achievement that I have. I accept these emotions as part of my path. As I embrace them with understanding, they naturally disintegrate, allowing me to receive everything that awaiting. Make this acceptance a daily practice until alignment feels natural and full. Part 3. Manifestation. Chapter 22. Symbolizing prosperity. Lola Chambers found wealth in every nook of the antique marketplace. However, each time opportunity knocked, an inner voice warned her that wealth corrupts the soul. Despite her talents and tireless efforts, riches remain just beyond her grasp. The universal law speaks clearly on this issue, despite being held back by an unseen barrier of her own making. Money, like water, lacks moral value. It conforms to the shape of the jar in which it is held. Your beliefs about wealth shape its character in your hands. When you regard wealth as a shadow over morality, you unintentionally reject the very abundance that desires to pass through you. Martin Ellis once held this viewpoint, seeing financial success as a sign of spiritual compromise. His garden center barely survived as he adhered to the belief that material comfort required selling one's soul. However, as old wisdom reached him through unexpected routes, he learned to see riches in a new light, not as an aim in itself, but as a means of spreading constructive impact. He learned that money enhances who we already are. With this realization, Martin Ellis began to see his business as a vehicle for community enrichment. He envisioned his garden center as a haven of beauty and knowledge, where people might reconnect with nature's bounty. As his perspective altered, his energy became more connected with affluence and his true purpose, which was to multiply good. Within months, opportunities arose organically. Local schools wanted instructional programs. Community organizations sought partners. The ship's revenue increased as a result of expanding service, rather than aggressive pursuit. Martin Ellis discovered that secret riches is most freely distributed to people who regard it as a tool for common advancement. This truth has endured through the centuries. Abundance is your natural state. The universe runs on overflow, not scarcity. Look at the stars strewn across the cosmos, like seeds erupting from a single flower. The never-ending waves on the shore. Divine intellect creates abundantly, and you are a member of this creative force. Your connection with prosperity reflects your most fundamental views about deserving and purpose. When you grasp how ethical riches contributes to life's expansion, resistance dissolves and tension becomes a powerful attractor, drawing resources that are linked with the highest good sacred practice. Find a peaceful moment and relax into silence. Place your hands palms up in your lap. Signify your willingness to receive. Breathe deeply and visualize prosperity as pure golden light coursing through you, illuminating everything in your path with positive possibility. Consider yourself a portal for abundance that serves the larger good. Allow thankfulness to flow spontaneously as you acknowledge your role in this magnificent circulation. Hold the sensation, knowing that when you align with prosperity and your actual purpose, you will naturally express it. This technique rewrites the story of riches in your consciousness, transforming it from a cause of guilt to a sacred tool for spreading light in the world. In this alignment, abundance is not your master, but rather your ally in the service of life. Chapter 23. Love as the Highest Frequency. A weaver named Sadie Bennett lived in a little community nestled under snow-capped mountains. Every day, she would weave exquisite tapestries out of gold and silver threads, creating gorgeous designs. While her hands worked skillfully with the threads in front of her, her heart toiled desperately at the art of love, following adoration like a leaf chasing the wind. The truth has spoken to us over the ages. Love follows the rule of resonance. What you exude inwardly comes back to you, multiplied. When you pursue love from a state of emptiness, you're broadcasting the frequency of lack. The universe, in its flawless reflection, can only echo the same emptiness. Your relationship with yourself establishes the energetic framework for all subsequent connections. Every act of neediness, every desperate search for approval, throws waves of scarcity into a field of limitless potential. This is not a judgment, but a reminder of your ability to change the habit. Thomas Keller discovered this understanding in his quiet times of seclusion, where he began to nurture a garden of self-appreciation after previously filling every silence with a racket of seeking. Every morning, he would sit in the soft light of dawn, breathing in acceptance of his own existence. He stopped trying to fill the gaps between moments by persistent searching. As Thomas learned to relax in his own company, his energy changed. His shoulders relaxed. His smile became more natural, and his eyes were filled with peaceful confidence. He no longer went about life scrutinizing others for approval or connection. Instead, he moved with the easy grace of someone at ease in their own company. Within months, Thomas was attracted into effortless connections, a chance conversation in a bookstore, a shared joke about spilled coffee. Relationships began to emerge with ease that had eluded him during his search. He had uncovered the paradoxical nature of attraction. Love is most freely given people in need. The teaching shows itself. When you radiate wholeness, you become attracted to its reflection. Your duty is not to seek love, but to become it. Let rid of the urgent need for external approval, and instead focus on the warmth of your own heart. As you develop genuine admiration for yourself, you are naturally drawn to people who share that frequency. Practice. Take a comfortable position and place your hand over your heart. Breathe deeply and slowly, letting each breath bring gratitude for your own being. Consider the attributes that distinguish you, your kindness, courage, and ability to grow. Allow this acknowledgement to warm your chest until you feel it organically extending forth, as if sunlight was beaming from within. Rest in the sensation of self-appreciation without seeking anything else, knowing that your totality attracts the highest manifestation of love to you. Chapter 24. The Power of Silence. Along a twisting trail amid ancient woodland, Will Norton walked quickly, her steps echoing her frantic thoughts even amid nature's sanctuary. She filled the air with incessant speech, as if stillness could swallow her whole. Each quiet moment felt like an abyss, requiring her to fill it with movement, noise, or distraction. The instruction conveys a timeless reality. Silence is not empty. Rather, it is full. It is the sacred area where divine intellect communicates most clearly, much like motionless water reflects the sky with perfect clarity. The peaceful mind reflects the knowledge of the universe. When the surface of your thoughts calms, you can begin to notice the subtle currents of advice that have always flowed beneath the commotion. Your relationship with quiet demonstrates your belief in the unseen. Those who fear silence frequently fear their own depths, opposing the very calm that would bring them peace. Yet it is in these depths that your truest ambitions emerge, where inspiration rises like the first light of morning. Henry Vaughan found this reality because of need rather than choice. Years of constant activity had left him weary and dissatisfied. He was drawn to the practice of everyday meditation. At first, the silence seemed strange, almost dangerous. But as the days evolved into weeks, something changed inside him, in the space between thoughts. He became aware of a presence that was not external, but rather his own essence, clear and knowing. Henry's intuition improved with each sitting, and his decisions became more consistent. Solutions arose effortlessly where he would have struggled previously, and the chaos of his outer world began to order itself. As if responding to the harmony he had created inside the message, it is evident, like a compass. Your energy field requires calm to recalibrate. Finding true north, your inner guidance system reorients itself in silence. What appears to be emptiness is actually fullness, waiting to be discovered. The universe communicates in whispers, not in shouts. And those who learn to listen in silence gain access to wisdom that is not commonly known, an ancient practice. Find a quiet place where you won't be disturbed. Settle into a comfortable position and gently close your eyes. Allow your breath to become soft and natural, with no attempt to control it as thoughts arise. Observe them objectively, like clouds passing through a vast sky. Rest in this quiet awareness for a few minutes, allowing your energy field to naturally return to its original harmony. Consider how clarity emerges not from seeking, but from settling into stillness. Chapter 25, Synchronicity and Signs. In the bustling marketplace of an ancient city, there lived a merchant named Minnie Parker, who took pride in being practical and methodical. Each morning, she would set up her stall of vibrant fabrics, dismissing the strange patterns of customers who seemed to want the exact colors she had dreamed about the night before. Mere chance, she would mutter. Turning away from the universe's whispers, the language of synchronicity speaks in subtle harmonies, weaving meaning into seemingly random events. When your energy aligns with a universal flow, life responds to confirming echoes, not loud proclamations, but gentle nudges that draw your attention. These aren't coincidences. They're conversations with the infinite. Oscar Riley, a humble potter, discovered the truth through his craft. Each time he considered a new design, he noticed how certain symbols appeared throughout his day, in the arrangement of leaves on his path, in bird flight patterns, and in dry earth cracks. Initially, he dismissed these as unrelated events. However, as he learned to pay attention, these signs began to guide his artistic choices, resulting in works that spoke deeply to those who saw them. The universe communicates constantly in the language of synchronicity, with numbers that repeat, words that echo across contexts, and chance meetings that lead to unexpected opportunities. This is the alphabet of divine communication. When you tune into this subtle dialogue, life becomes a dance of meaningful connections rather than random events. What appears to be a coincidence to the sleeping mind is actually guidance for the awakening spirit. The key is to avoid imposing meaning on every occurrence, and instead maintain an open awareness that allows patterns to emerge naturally. This receptivity strengthens your connection with universal intelligence, resulting in a feedback loop of increased clarity. To practice the ancient art of divine dialogue, stay alert to the subtle confirmations that appear throughout the day. When you notice repeated patterns, meaningful coincidences, or timely encounters, take a moment to appreciate these cosmic winks of reassurance. This grateful acknowledgement strengthens your connection to the guiding force behind all of life's synchronicities. Actionable practice for today. Keep a soft awareness of the signs and synchronicities that appear in your experience as you notice these subtle confirmations. Pause briefly to express gratitude, allowing each experience to strengthen your faith in the invisible intelligence that directs your path. Chapter 26. The Expansion Beyond Fear. Agnes Turner sat in the quiet corners of a bustling market, watching others seize opportunities while remaining frozen in familiar patterns. Every morning, she awoke with dreams of adventure, But by nightfall, those dreams were safely tucked away in the realm of imagination. The universal truth whispers that growth exists just beyond the limits of comfort, where fear and possibility coexist in delicate balance. The teaching describes a profound paradox. To manifest your desires, you must first let go of your need for certainty. When you increase your frequency through trust and alignment, fear loses its ancient grip on your spirit. Water flows around stones in a stream. Energy seeks expression along the path of least resistance. However, resistance frequently masquerades as prudence, keeping you anchored to shores you've outgrown. Patrick Doyle realized this truth only after years of standing still. Every morning, he would look at his workshop, which was full of half-finished inventions and abandoned ideas. His hands held skill. His mind sparked with creativity. However, fear kept his creations hidden from the world until one dawn, when the weight of regret overtook the burden of uncertainty. He began small, sharing one creation, then another. With each step he discovered that courage was not the absence of fear, but the willingness to move forward while carrying it. As his frequency shifted from hesitation to action, the universe responded in kind. Doors opened, connections formed, and opportunities emerged as naturally as flowers turning toward the sun. The message becomes clear through Patrick's journey. Expansion follows courage as surely as dawn follows night. When you align your energy with growth rather than protection, the universe conspires to support your evolution. Each step forward, no matter how small, creates ripples in the field of possibility. The law of resonance teaches that like when you vibrate at the frequency of courage, you draw experiences that match your newfound resilience. The very act of moving forward despite uncertainty signals to the universe your readiness for expansion. Practice. Find a peaceful place and relax into silence. Close your eyes and bring to mind a situation that calls for courage as you breathe deeply. Visualize yourself moving through this challenge with grace and strength. Feel the sensation of empowerment rising within you, replacing hesitation with quiet confidence. Let each breath strengthen your resolve, knowing that as you align with courage, the universe aligns with you. Maintain this visualization until you sense a shift from fear to calm certainty within your being. Chapter 27. Creating with the Divine. Eleanor Brooks knelt alongside her bed in the early hours of the morning, hands clasped in frantic prayer. Night after night, she begged an obviously distant God to intervene. Her prayers, becoming increasingly hollow with each unanswered plea, matched the age-old pattern of a separated mortal supplicant reaching out to an unattainable divine. The ancient truth reveals an alternate reality. You are not supposed to beg for divine favor, but to become it. The universe does not need convincing. It waits for you to recognize the power that is already flowing through you. When you realize that divine intellect expresses itself as through and with you, the entire foundation of manifestation alters. Consider the ocean wave, which believes it needs a petition, the sea for movement. How can it be separated from its very essence? You, like the wave, are inseparable from the power that produced you. Your ideas, inspirations, and ambitions come from the same intelligence that orchestrates universes. Lawrence Grant found this reality after years of spiritual struggle. After viewing life as a series of fights requiring divine intervention, he learned to understand himself as a natural channel for cosmic wisdom. His transition from pleading to partnering changed not only his results, but also his entire life experience. As Lawrence came to terms with this idea, synchronicities replaced challenges. Ideas flowed effortlessly. Opportunities arose at the appropriate time. He no longer resisted the circumstances, but rather moved in tune with them, sensing the subtle instruction that has always been present. This transition reveals the basic concept. When you let go of the illusion of separation, manifestation accelerates. The power you seek is not something external to you. It is the very core of your being. Your role is not to persuade a distant divinity, but to let the unlimited knowledge within you to express itself completely. Practice. Find a peaceful area and close your eyes. Breathe deeply and visualize divine understanding as a golden light coursing through every cell in your body. Feel yourself as a clear path for universal intelligence to spontaneously manifest itself. Allow this knowledge to guide your thoughts and actions, knowing that you are in perfect harmony with the creative power of life itself. Chapter 28. Overflow and Generosity. Beatrice Lane lived in a tiny home on the outskirts of a bustling hamlet, filling her cupboards with more than she could need, while her neighbors occasionally went without. Every market day, she gathered more groceries than she needed, driven by an inner whisper that suggested there might not be enough. Tomorrow, her pantry overflowed with unused items. However, her heart felt strangely empty. The universe communicates through the law of circulation. Breath must move in and out. All energy must move in order to remain essential. When you hold on too tightly to what you have, you build resistance to the natural flow of prosperity. Much like a dam creek becomes stagnant, and riches loses its life-giving nature. While in frightened detention, Philip Warren found this truth in the calm dawn of understanding. His means were meager. He shared his bread with travelers, generously donated his services to those in need, and encouraged those who questioned their path. Every time he extended his hands to give, an invisible door opened in the fabric of creation. His garden produced more bountiful yields. Unexpected prospects came in his business. Friends appeared with gifts that addressed his unspoken needs. What Philip Warren recognized was a fundamental simplicity of universal law, signaling to the infinite that you believe in limitless supply. This confidence generated a vibration that invites others to donate, resulting in an upward spiral of abundance. What matters is not how much you offer, but how much love you put into it. Even a genuine grin sends vibrations of fortune across the universe. You are now at the threshold of this ancient wisdom. The universe is awaiting your signal. Will you hold on to what you have? Will you join in the endless dance of giving and receiving? When you give from joy rather than responsibility, and share from abundance rather than shortage, you are in sync with the very nature of creation. Sacred practice. Choose one thing today, whether it is material or intangible, and give it to another with pure joy. Feel the warmth of contributing pass through you. Take note of how your energy expands as you share. This is not merely gifting. It is a mindful participation in the endless flow of abundance. Chapter 29. Living as a Creator. Josephine Hayes carefully arranged volumes in the quiet nooks of her modest bookshop, carrying an invisible burden. Though she imparted wisdom to innumerable individuals through books, she wondered if her own energy had an impact on the world around her. Every morning, she watched customers walk through the aisles, wondering if her presence made a difference. The global law speaks clearly on this issue. Every entity transmits a frequency that shapes the collective field, much like a pebble making ripples in a pond. When you doubt your impact, your emotional signature has far-reaching consequences that are invisible to the naked sight. You diminish your inherent brightness. However, when you acknowledge the power of your presence, you activate your position as a conscious creator. Gregory Mills once managed a struggling restaurant and blamed his problems on economy, location, and competition. His victim-like energy permeated the establishment, impacting both employee morale and client experience. The tipping point came when he understood his internal condition was the secret ingredient that flavored every element of his business. Instead of focusing on external circumstances, Gregory learned to adjust his own frequency. He welcomed each morning with purposeful thankfulness, led staff meetings from a place of inspiration rather than worry, and saw problems as chances to grow. Within months, the restaurant environment changed. The servers smiled more genuinely. Chefs prepared with newfound enthusiasm, and customers waited longer. The truth reverberates through time as they feel elevated by their encounters. You are an active participant in reality as it unfolds, rather as a passive observer. Your ideas, emotions, and beliefs cause real vibrations in the quantum field. When you give up this creative capacity, circumstances seem to rule you. However, when you accept your job as a conscious broadcaster, life responds to your directing frequencies. Similar to gravity, this principle functions with mathematical precision. It can function without belief. However, recognizing it enables you to work with it intentionally. Before words or actions are spoken, your energy talks loudest, clearest, and most convincingly. Your vibration has already established the tone for what follows. The question is not whether you affect the field, but whether you do so intentionally or unconsciously. Accepting responsibility for your energetic output is the first step toward real manifestation. This isn't about controlling the outcome, but about taking ownership of your creative contribution to the common experience. Sacred practice. Sit calmly and put your hand over your heart. Breathe deeply while you affirm, I accept that my inner state influences my external reality. I prefer to broadcast with intentional aim. Allow this awareness to permeate your thoughts and emotions throughout the day, recognizing that your energy has an impact in both visible and invisible ways. Chapter 30. Once you know, Margaret Call looked everywhere for solutions, interviewing teachers, reading books, and seeking wisdom in remote locations. Yet the most deep truth resided within her. All along, awareness itself is the way to changing reality. The teaching explains that once you properly understand energy as divine language, every thought and emotion becomes a conscious conversation with the universe. When you speak this sacred language with clarity and conviction, life transforms from a sequence of random events to an intimate dialogue between your inner state and outside experience. Each moment presents an opportunity to connect your energy with your intentions, broadcasting the frequency of what you want rather than what you fear. The power of creativity does not necessitate complicated rituals or urgent pleas. It comes naturally when you keep a conscious awareness of your energetic output. Your emotions, beliefs, and expectations continuously shape the area of potential around you. This is not about imposing results, but about creating an inner atmosphere that naturally attracts what aligns with your real truth. Andrew Sullivan exemplified this concept by gradually incorporating each idea into his daily life, rather than hurrying to achieve outcomes. He concentrated on mastering his own condition. He realized that consistent alignment was more potent than scattered intensity. With each passing day, his energy became clearer, more focused, and more magnetic. Where others saw a chance, Andrew saw the exact reflection of his continuous vibration. His life was transformed not by big gestures, but by persistent focus on his enthusiastic broadcast. He lived with serene conviction, knowing that his inner harmony would surely manifest itself in his external experience. The analysis reveals that true mastery is found not in controlling external circumstances, but in remaining steadfastly aligned with your preferred frequency. When you live in this knowledge, manifestation becomes about expressing your inherent state of being rather than obtaining certain results. You now understand that every moment presents an opportunity to speak this holy language fluently. Your awareness serves as a catalyst for transformation while you go about your daily activities. Allow this wisdom to penetrate deeply into your consciousness. You are not simply responding to life. You're producing it with your energetic presence. Sacred practice. Rest assured that you now understand a language of energy, and let your daily life become its eloquent manifestation. Allow each thought, emotion, and action to flow from this profound understanding, knowing that your aligned energy speaks louder than words ever could. Chapter 31. The Refinement of Intention. Charlotte Sinclair once stated that she desired abundance, but underneath her words was a desire to prove others wrong, and this concealed goal affected her outcomes. For years, her efforts to manifest prosperity were thorny with bitterness. Regardless of its outward appearance, each achievement tastes hollow. The deeper teaching indicates that intention has a subtle energy signature that influences manifestation more precisely than surface desire. Like water running over different soils, your creative power takes on the characteristics of the earth it passes through. The universe answers not only to your requests, but also to your reasoning behind it. Every particle of energy you emit is colored by your deepest desire. When your desire is based on fear, vengeance, or validation, the outcome is wrapped in the same energies. These manifestations may fulfill the letter of your objective, but fall short of its essence, resulting in empty triumph or victory that generates new strife. Pure intention, when combined with growth, contribution, and joy, produces clean results that seem expansive rather than heavy. Intention is a compass of energy, guiding creative power toward harmony or conflict. Each prayer, visualization, and affirmation bears the invisible stamp of your genuine intention. When you refine your motivations, you improve your manifestations. Benjamin Harper spent years yearning for fame, believing that success would quell his insecurities. Every accomplishment served as another temporary bandage over an unhealed internal wound. Benjamin Harper soon discovered that his motivation was driven by the desire to feel worthy. When he moved his focus from improving himself to genuinely expressing his skills, opportunities started appearing with ease and genuineness. The implication is clear. The purity of your inner motivation determines the quality of your external experience. Energy multiplies whatever base you build on. Even if the walls are magnificent, a house constructed on sand cannot stand. Similarly, manifestation based on wounded motives will always contain the fundamental disharmony, no matter how carefully you choose your words and deeds. Sacred practice is gently examining the desire that is currently closest to your heart and asking yourself what deeper sensation you are actually seeking from it. Allow that inner sensation, such as peace, freedom, or love, to become your primary focus, resting peacefully until your purpose is clean, generous, and in line with your truest self. Chapter 32, Devotion to Daily Frequency in Creation's Sacred Dance. The subtlest changes frequently result in the most profound transformations. Eleanor Whitfield's quest reveals a truth that many seekers overlook. The quiet strength of regularity triumphs over the drama of erratic intensity. Energy, like water, follows the most frequented path. Each thought and feeling creates a groove in consciousness that deepens with repetition, eventually forming the channel through which divine force flows naturally. The universe responds to your dominant frequency's constant pulse rather than its occasional peaks of alignment. When you understand this principle, you realize that mastery is achieved by patient return rather than perfect moments. It is a subtle technique of redirecting your focus back to trust when doubt arises. Return to thankfulness when shortage threatens. Return to peace when anarchy erupts. This continual realignment, no matter how tiny, generates an electric momentum that eventually becomes unstoppable. Thomas Caldwell's metamorphosis did not come via spectacular announcements or extensive visualizing sessions. Instead, it grew from his dedication to two simple touchstones, morning stillness and evening appreciation. These were not huge rituals, but rather quiet moments of reconnection to a higher frequency. As days evolved into weeks and weeks into months, these little practices had a greater impact on his energetic signature than any single breakthrough event could have. The law of attraction works with mathematical accuracy, focusing on the average of your vibrational offerings rather than their peaks, like compound interest in the spiritual sphere. Small frequency alterations made with devotion eventually lead to huge transformations in manifestation. This is why instructors from all traditions emphasize the need of consistent practice above irregular intensity. Your relationship with energy is formed not in dramatic events, but rather in numerous modest decisions to return to alignment. Every time you choose trust over anxiety, gratitude over criticism, or acceptance over resistance, You enhance your connection to the divine flow. These tiny alterations, when repeated with sincerity, serve as a foundation for long-term transformation. Sacred practice. As you go about your day, choose one simple moment, such as waking up or sleeping at night, to consciously return to the sense of alignment, breathing it in with earnestness and allowing that consistent commitment to elevated frequency to silently transform your identity and world. If you enjoyed this audiobook, I've developed a free ebook edition for you. You can get it from the link in the pinned remark. Conclusion. Energy has always spoken, and you now understand how to listen and respond. Every notion has tone, every emotion has velocity, and every belief possesses creative authority. God's language is not distant or strange, but rather intimate and immediate, flowing through your awareness in every instant. When you link emotion with desire, imagination with trust, and action with inspiration, life returns coherence to you. Manifestation is not magic. Rather, it is a match between inner frequency and exterior form. You are both a transmitter and a receiver in an intelligent universe that reflects your dominant state with accuracy and compassion. Your emotional tone is your prayer, your unwavering belief is your proclamation, and your concentrated concentration is your affirmation. Remember that mastery is a purposeful recalibration, not perfection. Whenever you are in doubt, thankfulness restores equilibrium. In times of contraction, love raises a vibration. When uncertainty increases, faith stabilizes intention. The cosmos responds to sustained and energetic thinking, not surface words, but profound conviction. The more intentionally you speak with intensity, the more elegantly reality responds. Your strength rests not in forcing change, but in connecting with the vibrations you want to feel. When you understand that creation comes through emotion rather than force, resonance rather than opposition, you may begin to create with ease rather than struggle. As you master the language of energy, you become a tool for divine wisdom to express itself. Reality becomes a truthful mirror, reflecting the light you choose to radiate. When you know something, you can make it happen. If you enjoyed this unique audiobook, I have handpicked the next book that will alter your life.